Welcome to the NAMB Podcast, where we bring you the voices that drive the mortgage industry. Join dynamic hosts Ginger Bell and Matt Shields as they dive into bold conversations with top experts, industry leaders, and change makers from across the country. From insider insights to game-changing trends, this is your front row seat to what's happening right now in the world of home finance.
Well, hi there. Welcome to another episode of the NAMB Podcast. My name's Ginger Bell. My co-host, Matt Shields, is unfortunately not with us today, but I have a fantastic guest who I am very excited to have a conversation with, and that is Don Chiesa with Newrez. So, Don, hey, how are you today?
I am doing great, Ginger. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, glad to have you here. So I'm going to, full disclosure, you and I had recorded a podcast with Matt earlier, and it got deleted. So we are here for the second time.
Hey,
So,
two
uh,
times
so
the charm. They
very
say three.
good.
We're hoping it's not three. We're going to
Hey,
do
we'll
two,
we'll
but
come back. We'll come back in October for three and do that as well. But it's really an opportunity to be able to dive a little bit deeper into the conversations that we had, and so I'm excited about doing that. But this episode is being aired in June, and June is homeownership month. And so I want to start off with really, Don, asking you a question. It's a two-part question. First of all, you know, where do you see the challenges of Americans being able to get into the American dream of owning a home? That's the first part. And then the second part is, what can mortgage brokers do to be able to help to bridge that, in terms of understanding, education, things like that, to help consumers to say, hey, it is a possibility. And, I ask those two questions because the two really do go hand in hand.
I think they do. There's probably several headwinds just in the home ownership front right now. One, obviously, that everybody talks about is just where the rate environment is. And it makes it challenging for people to qualify because we're not really seeing, a softening of home value. So how do I qualify for a home at today's current interest rates? But the bigger one that nobody's really talking about is around the insurance costs as well. Like insurance and property taxes are skyrocketing, and in a lot of communities, your housing payment is up to 50% of just homeowners insurance and taxes. And so, how do you deal with that? And if you're above 80% LTV, the MI as well. So I know some of the things we're trying to do at Newrez is offer very low MI rates. We shop them on a regular basis and have some of the most competitive MI rates.
Right.
We also, try to offer flexible other products, whether it's non-QM products. We call them our Smart Series. Think Smart, Close More. Or even just other unique products like our medical doctor loan. And I'm sure we'll chat more about that
Yeah.
later, because down payment, in addition to, right, it's hard on Americans right now with the cost of goods out there to save money. And so how do I have low down payment programs as well?
Very good. And so, with that, you've talked about a few different things. I love the fact of shopping MI because, that's important. And, for mortgage brokers especially, they're not the ones that are shopping those MI rates. It's actually you, the wholesale lender, right?
Yep.
And so the fact that you led in with that is very important. And so, I think for brokers to have an understanding on what their lender's doing for them, not just providing the best loan program, but what are they doing as far as providing the best mortgage insurance rate, as well as the best education resources. You talked about a couple of different programs. What programs at Newrez are making the biggest impact right now that you're seeing to help in terms of homeownership?
Yeah, so I think the biggest one we're seeing right now is in, like I say, that non-qualified mortgage space. I know a lot of people don't like the word non-QM because it starts out with the word non. Everybody
Don,
looks at that as
yeah.
a negative connotation, so that's why we call it our Smart
Mhm.
Series. But there's just a ton of consumers out there that are highly qualified but don't fit into the traditional mortgage program. So
Right.
I'm working multiple jobs. Gig workers come up a lot, right? I'm not only working my day job, but I'm driving Uber at night. And
Yeah.
how do I qualify for the mortgage? You need to be able to be flexible and looking at clients' cash flows, either through a bank statement program We have what's called an edge product. That's what I call just missed agency and jumbo product, meaning
Okay.
that I use traditional guidelines, but I can take your assets and divide them by 60 on a primary or secondary home and add that to your income. So I can also go up to DTIs that are higher than what you see on traditional jumbo loans, right? A lot of those will stop at 43 and we'll go up to 50 or 55 if we have compensating factors. And literally the pricing on our edge product looks very similar to high balance. So I think that's another misconception, is that the pricing is a lot higher on these products. It's just not. It's really about trying to qualify well-qualified clients that don't fit the traditional guideline. And then if you're in the investor, I know we're talking about home ownership. A lot of investors are trying to create home ownership through buying other properties. So we won't go too far, but DSCR is just really just qualifying on cash flow.
And in having that kind of a broader range of what you can offer, because as you said, we have, I don't know what the percentage is. I don't know if there's some statistics out there of the percentage of Americans today who have an additional source of income or gig economy, whether it's, driving for Uber or having a side hustle or selling something on Etsy. It's become easier to be able to have something else. And sometimes it is a job like Uber. Sometimes it's a business. And so, for brokers, they need to think about how to, number one, market to that individual, that consumer. And then number two, how to repeatedly continue to speak the language and relate to them, because it's different. And, you talked about investors. And so your DSCR programs and investors, they're people that they know the language. So when you're going to be attracting, to marketing to them, you have to know what you're talking about, right? So
Yep.
what should brokers be doing to be able to have this, it's kind of the riches and the niches, right? We're talking about what should they be doing?
Yeah, so on that space, to me, it really comes to trying to find referral sources. So
Oh,
because there's key ones that help drive some of this product. I always talk about financial planners, and when you start talking about non-QM products, right? Financial planners are in asset preservation. They want to be investing your assets. They don't want you
yeah,
liquidating your assets. And so with traditional programs like agency, you're having to take a distribution account and set up a distribution, be able to use that income. Where in the non-QM space, I don't force them into a distribution. I just look at the assets and divide by 60. So again, asset preservation. Or if I'm wanting to buy a loan on the traditional agency side, the down payments for my income levels, because I wasn't able to qualify enough income, I'm having to put more down payment. Again, having to liquidate my assets. And so you have those conversations with financial planners that you have all these programs. And then it's a great referral source. Or CPAs, right? CPA's strategy is to try to get you the lowest tax liability. And so don't let your tax strategy get in the way of the mortgages, because right, if the for me to get lower taxes means lower income,
right.
disclose it on my tax returns, which is problematic in a loan, unless you're using like bank statements. Like somebody
Right.
told me the other day, restaurant owners are great at having low taxes but high cash flow. They're a perfect client
Yeah,
for a bank statement program, or as you said, gig workers.
yeah,
Um, we also see a lot of the community out there that's starting to age out and wanting to downsize. So I no longer have a job. We have
mm,
programs out there that are called asset qualifier, but you have this high level of net worth. So I can qualify strictly on my assets and not have a job with some of these programs. So
right.
that's
And
critical.
that's it. So when you think about that, your financial planners, and it's almost like, make your list of your referral sources, right? So you have your real estate agents. Here's the different programs that I would talk to them about. And, go in, do a presentation and let them know this is who I can help. This is what I can do. You don't have to get into the details of each loan program, but just if you can say, hey, if you have someone that's like this, that's for me. If you have someone that's like this, that's for me. And then do the same thing. So you have your CPAs, they're going to want to know about this if they have business owners. And then your financial planners, especially when you're talking about our population that doesn't have an income but has assets. That's exactly what the financial planners want to hear, right? Like, they don't want to touch this, but yeah, I do have someone that would do that.
Yep.
So, think about that when you're saying, okay, this is what I'm going to talk to so and so about, and this is what, and I know you do a lot of education. You have webinars at Newrez that can help them to do that, right?
Exactly. We run our monthly webinar and we try to not only tell you about the products and why they're important and how they work, but what is the statistics like you were asking about gig workers? I wish I had the presentation, but the number of gig workers will tell you the percentage and why they're important. And then we also
I
talk
knew you
about,
had
yeah,
that.
but then we also talk about how you source some of these clients. Like you need to understand the words asset preservation if you're talking to a financial planner, but then they
Right.
want to know what are you doing that's different that will help me with some of my clients. And we do something with crypto where nobody else does stuff with crypto, where we
Wow.
will allow you to look at crypto as long as it's Ethereum or Bitcoin and it's held in one of the major providers where we can kind of make sure that it's, can be sourced easily. We are giving a haircut to that money and allowing you to use those assets as income
Well,
just like any other asset for income program we have. And that's a real differentiator if you're trying to reach out to some of these financial planners. There are financial planners that specialize in crypto. There's also even CPAs. They're called Web3 accountants. If you don't know it, look it up on the internet. And you can literally call on them and start talking to them about the great things you do with crypto where your clients don't have to liquidate. Most of our competitors force you to liquidate your crypto to do a loan. We don't. We will allow you to use crypto as income. And then we don't, even if you do need to liquidate some of it for closing, we don't make you jump through all the hoops. If we're able to validate sufficient levels in your crypto, right, some of the pain points on closing is having to liquidate that and show that you liquidated to close. We just look at the number.
wow. Yeah, the crypto, and again, that's something else, just to be able to go in and have a conversation with someone. That it's not going to fit to everyone, but it's like, hey, if you have someone that has crypto, what a great thing to talk to a real estate agent about. They
Yep.
say, oh, because and again, get them thinking about when to make that call to me, when to make that call to me, when to make that call to me.
Yep.
So I want to switch hats
What
because
one thing before
oh,
we switch real quick is like on
okay,
the crypto side, it's join us for our webinars because we're also telling you like where are you going to find the most of these clients in addition to that
right,
Web3 accountant is your high tech areas, right? If you were talking about realtors, we
yeah,
see a lot of realtors that run across crypto more in your high tech areas than
yeah,
not. And we also tell you the states. So join us for one of those webinars. We'd love to educate you. But I know
I
we're going to
love
pivot
that.
a little bit into some of the other products.
Yeah, we are. But again, something good to think about. And so looking for those areas, the high tech areas, or even if you're not in a high tech area, there could be pockets. It's like Columbus, Ohio. There's some pockets there that have some high tech areas. So thinking about that would be good as well. So hopping on those webinars is important. Okay, so let's switch because you have a program that I recently really kind of dived into myself and looking at, and quite honestly fell in love with it. And that's your doctor's program.
Yep.
And so, why do you believe the doctors, and this is not just doctors, right? So this falls into your doctors, your dentists, your veterinarians, your
Yep.
medical professionals, right?
Yep. We
So
actually even call it when you're looking for it in our system medical professional home loan. So
there you go.
like the only one that I think doesn't qualify is a chiropractor. I'm not sure why we have
Oh,
a
wow.
problem, but chiropractors don't, but every other medical professional pretty much falls under it.
That's amazing.
And it's a very nice program because what we find in that world, especially with newly graduates, is you can have an offer letter where you're not starting for 3 to 6 months, and we can still qualify you off that offer letter. Or, right, I've just finished school, and so I have a lot of debt, and I haven't been able
There
to
you
save
go.
a lot, and we go up to 100% LTVs for this program. So again, it's just a
Wow.
great program for doctors. And then if they have more experience, what we find with this product, and we can go more in depth on the product and why you love it as well, Ginger, but it just generates more loans. Since we've rolled it out, we get a lot of feedback from LOs where they're talking about it and they get a lot more interest now from these professionals. And then they find out, yeah, this program's perfect for them, or no, there's even other better programs because of their qualificational characteristics.
Yeah, and I mean that's it. It's I'm a fisherman. I love fishing. And
Sure.
so I always think about it, it's like, you're out there fishing, you're out there prospecting, you're out there looking, obviously, for that, for customers, referral sources. And so this is an opportunity for you to use a different kind of bait. And so, maybe you're going to catch a different kind of fish than what you were looking for, and that's okay. You can put them into a different loan program. But the whole idea is to have that conversation. We used to find that back in the day, I think it was in 2008, we did a lot of training around 203Ks. Nobody wanted to do them, but it was a great conversation, right? Because that's people needed money to be able to fix up houses. So it's the same thing with this is having those conversations. And so for brokers, what do you think are the misconceptions that they may have, especially because you talked about someone who has a job offer, has been maybe a resident, and now has a job offer. And going 6 months out, is that correct?
Yes.
So they're not even starting for 6 months, so still maybe in a residency, and being able to get them into a loan, that is something I think that's unheard of in that. So
Those are some of the big misconceptions, right? When
yeah,
we're all been in the business, we think 2 years, and then oh, Fannie and Freddie now offer 1 year,
right.
tax returns, and so it's like, okay, but they don't have 1 year, so how do
Yeah,
I get them to qualify? Well, in the medical professional product, right? As long as they have an offer letter and it's a firm offer letter without, other contingencies other than possibly passing the standard drug test, et cetera, or whatever they have,
right.
we will qualify them off of that offer letter. And so
That's cool.
it's just a great program. We're seeing a lot of activity on it for those reasons. And it's about educating again. And I think that really comes down to all products, Ginger, is educating yourself on what's available and
Right.
figuring out how you can market that to folks and that you have become a subject matter expert, whether it's on medical
Mhm.
professionals, crypto, as we talked about earlier, and just become well versed in it and leverage us in our training or leverage your AE, but just become an expert on something.
So become an expert. And here's the other thing that I often find, don't be afraid to try marketing to somewhere, someplace that you haven't done before. And here's my thought. I mean, honestly, this is what I would do with the program. I would go to, I'm in Oregon, so we have the Oregon Health and Science University. I would find out who I needed to talk to there, whether it was doing lunch and learn programs, whether it's who does the offer letters, going into talking to their residents. And I would see, hey, can I set up a lunch and learn? And go in and educate. It's like you have an audience right there. So, think about for this, nobody else is doing that. There's
Yeah,
nobody else out there doing that, right?
you got to
And
challenge yourself. I'm with you because
yeah,
there's
try
there's a
something
great
different.
opportunity there, right? How many people want a referral source from an employer? We've just put in your hands
Yeah,
the door opener that says, hey, you have people that you're making offer letters to that may be relocating here. You have a lot of your staff that may not have the down payment. So I have this program. By the way, I have all these other programs as well, but this is the one you need for
yeah.
those new hires that you're trying to create and bring to whatever your center
Okay.
is.
Well, and you think about from an employer standpoint, they know if somebody's buying property, buying a house, and getting a job offer, the likelihood that they're going to stay is much higher, right?
Yep.
And that's one of the challenges. It's getting a little bit easier now, but I know a lot of employers is they're wanting people to come back into the office now, and they're having some challenges with that. So even going to different employers and talking about, hey, we have some loan programs, that employer would love to see whoever they're, having move or, giving an offer to own a home because they're more likely to stay in that area if they're owning a home. So, in the market that we're in right now, Dawn, I think you have to really get outside that box of what you've done before and be that subject matter expert, as you said, right? And find some alternative referral sources that nobody else is going to, that's not the real estate agent that everybody else is calling on. But think about get creative in some of the things, just like you've done at Newrez,
Yeah.
with the crypto and the medical professional program. So I think that's really very important. Okay,
I,
so
that's what I would challenge anybody that's listening to your podcast is like put something on your, that's the hard part sometimes is just execution. Like you said,
yeah,
find and go and make sure that you're trying to seek a new referral source on whatever cadence is for you. Also, educate yourself, figure out something new that you're going to learn about every month and,
yeah.
just go deep on it. It may not be something you want to move forward with, but it may find something that, resonates. I always find it that it's a timing issue. Like nobody cares about something until they care.
Or until they need it. The
Yeah,
other
that's
thing to piggyback on that is share it. When you learn something, share it. My saying is, always pass on what you have learned. And so that's the whole
agree.
idea. If you're listening to this podcast, if you took something away from it, if you're on a webinar with Newrez, put an email together, grab the resources, send it out to your database. Let them know, hey, man, I was just on a great program, found about this program, wanted to share it with you. By the way, if you want to hear some more, give me a call. That's it. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to be complicated, but you have to, execute on it. And so that's the whole thing is being able to do that. Okay. Last question, looking ahead for the coming year, what trends are you seeing in the market? And how is Newrez Wholesale preparing brokers for success in today's evolving lending environment and what we're seeing?
Yeah, so I think expense on our broker side is really high. So we continue to look at things like Vantage Score. We also are rolling out later this month the ability for the broker to pull credit through us because that's probably their biggest upfront expense. So
Yeah,
that's a huge win. Call us up, talk to us because we want to make sure that we can lower your expense. And then we just see a lot of still headwinds when it comes to rates. So we continue to look at buy down programs and making sure that our brokers are educated around buy downs. They got hot really for a while. People quit talking about them, but
right.
we keep
Yeah,
talking about these first time home buyers, especially on the builder side of the business. We see a lot of people offering 2-1s or even 3-2-1 on FHA because while you're qualifying that client, giving them some relief during that first and second year. Um,
mhm,
right, that's going to give them that window for maybe rates to settle back down and refinance. But those are
right.
some of the things we try to look at as we're just continuing to try to figure out how can we make it easier in the current environment for people to originate loans.
I love it. I love it. So thank you so much, first of all, for doing the second interview. Now we'll have to get on to the third. We're going to have to look at that. And then also, thank you for, putting together all the programs. Thank you for being an industry partner with NAMB. We appreciate all that you do. I love working with your team. Your team is absolutely fantastic. And so we appreciate all of that.
Well,
And
thank you for the support over the years as well. We appreciate that.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so make sure and hop onto the new Raz. Where can they find the webinars at, Don?
Yeah, so we'll post them on LinkedIn, like me on or connect with me on LinkedIn because I post all of our webinars there or reach out to your AE because literally we do it usually the second week of every month. So
okay,
reach out to either myself or our AEs.
okay, cool. And then if somebody's not already doing business with new Raz, how can they get started?
Again, just reach out to myself or
Okay,
to the AEs that we have on our list. I will get you set up and get out a package. You can also newrezwholesale.com. A lot of our you can apply there as well, and it'll go straight to our investor approval, partner approval. And we'd love to have you set up and offer some of these great programs to you.
I love it. Thank you so much. Okay, so that's another episode of our NAMB podcast. Make sure and follow us, like, and subscribe. And hey, if you like this one, share it with a friend. Thanks, Don.
Thanks, Ginger. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the NAMB Podcast, brought to you by the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. For more episodes, resources, and guest interviews, visit nambpodcast.com. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you soon.